let's get into it, I guess, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
I'm going to push the intro, so we'll wait for that.
Welcome to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room Podcast. We are here to podcast about anything and everything Star Wars with you. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR.KaileJohansson.us. That's RABR.KaileJohansson.us. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at RABR.KaileJohansson.us. And now, it's time to talk Star Wars. I am Kyle John Johansson, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say hello.
He's not here, he's sick, but Rick's here. Rick up there is waving at us, so he's here today, and we're going to have a good time. So, start off with, I was going to say, I was talking to Rick about this beforehand, but we've seen an uptick in some traffic. Specifically, our videos seem to be being watched a little bit. So starting with Ahsoka, the first episode video is not that great. It's only 4, but the second one was 31 people watched it, and the third episode was 19. So we hope to, kind of keep that trend and keep people watching and listening. So today we're going to be reviewing Ahsoka Part 4, called The Fallen Jedi, and we're going to have some discussion around it. We've got a feedback segment that I collected from someone, and we're going to tell everybody what we think about it as well. Yeah, and we don't have any news today. So the director of this episode was Peter Ramsey again. Of course, David Filoni wrote the episode. It was edited by Dana Glauberman, and of course, the music was scored by Kevin Kinner. In the cast, we have quite a few of the same cast from the episodes. We've got Ahsoka, of course, is Rosario Dawson. Sabine is Natasha Bordizzo. Man, she's got some good-looking body too. Hera Syndulla, Mary Elisabeth Winstead is pretty almost better, I think. Bayllan Skoll, yeah, I'm not into guys, but Ray Stevenson, the late Ray Stevenson. Shin Hati is Ivanna Sakhino. I think that's the one that Scott likes. Morgan Elisabeth is played by Deanna Lee Inosanto, and she's not bad either for a middle-aged looking woman. Professor Hanoi is David Tennant. Inquisitor Merrick, Maruk maybe, played by Paul Darnell, which he's the one that had the metal mask looking thing. Jason Syndulla, the little boy with the green hair, Evan Witten. First Officer Vic Hawkins. He's that guy that keeps following Hera around when she's on the ship. He's played by Nick Robinson. Captain Carson Teva made a appearance. Paul's son Huyang Lee. Lieutenant Basie. Michael C. Chandler. I think these guys are all some of those pilots. Lieutenant Mawat was played by Don Dinger, something like that. Lieutenant Jenisu was played by Chow Nubenma, and Lieutenant Lander was played by Brendan Wayne, which we've seen Brendan Wayne quite a bit. He's actually the stunt double for Mando, one of the stunt doubles, if you remember. So
Related to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. So we did Dome Armor last week, so I'm going to do Aaron's for our commercial right now.
Hey,
I know that.
you is your armor always dirty? When do you find time to clean it?
Did Rebel Scum scratch and damage it? Does your helmet communications keep acting up?
Yes, it does.
Stop by Aaron's Armor Sparkalorium. Before 1500 hours, we will wash, clean, and sanitize your armor for the next day pickup. Our patented galactically ancient secret cleaning techniques will have your armor sparkling just like a new Cerulean Y-1300 freighter just off the assembly line. You will be the envy of all your friends and coworkers, from the castles on Lothal to the politicians on Coruscant to the environmentalists on Endor. For your next day service, stop by Aaron's Armor Sparkalorium. We are located in Tatooine's Mos Eisley Spaceport, directly across from Hangar 35. We will also repair and sell most parts at the best rates in the known galaxy. All services guaranteed and licensed by the Emperor himself to last a lifetime. Only at Aaron's Armor Sparkalorium.
Yeah.
We accept Imperial credits only. Helmets and boots or services are extra.
Oh, fine print there. I'm also going to say that I received another bobblehead, Tobias Beckett. If you remember that from Solo. Yeah, the Solo.
Yeah.
I received his. He's got the army uniform on when they called him Captain Beckett or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And the goggles on top of the hat. It looks like the hat and the uniform are kind of camouflage looking in a way. But anyway, we got that.
I heard you say that you'd gotten several here last week or week
we'll see
before.
what they do is, like, with Ahsoka just came out, right? So all the bobbleheads are on Amazon, but they're pre-order only.
Yeah.
So you can order them, but you don't get them right away. So what happens is I order them, and then the Amazon or the Ahsoka ones specifically, they're coming out in October. So I get a bunch of them 3 or 4 months later. So that's what happened with the Obi-Wan ones. They were actually a long wait. I think it was like 6 months before I got those. But yeah, I got the 2 Inquisitors that were in there, and the big tall yellow robot, and the Luke Skywalker's a boy, and another one with Obi-Wan Kenobi for that thing. Anyway, it was always fun.
New toys.
New toys. That's what Amy says. Toys. So again, we're they're what are they? Well, that's that. But what do they call the toys that are usually for boys? They don't call them dolls or toys. They call them action figures. That's it. You got your action figures and stuff like that. So that's what I call them.
I like collectible investment better.
Yeah, well, that's what they really are, because that's right now. There's a lot of money. At least in my side. But there's one that I've been trying to get since I started collecting these, and when I started, the price was like $15 for this one bobblehead. Now it's up to $600 because it was a very, very special edition, and they never made any more. So it's the Commander Cody one. I think I've talked about it before, but the Commander Cody one is like very expensive. Yeah. All right. So again, we're reviewing Ahsoka Part 4, Fallen Jedi. Episode aired on September 5th, 2023. It was 31 minutes long. Yeah. Is that right? No, that's not right. I didn't check the time on this one. No, that's 31 minutes is from the last one. It was longer than that. It was like 38 or something like that, maybe longer. And it's the same timeline, which is 9 after the Battle of Yavin, which means it's time to grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, and join us in the Rebel Alliance briefing room, right? Yeah. All right, so to start off with, we're on Ahsoka's T6 shuttle, and Sabine is trying to contact Home 1 and Hera over the comlink. hold on. My page is messed up. There. The comlink's still broken because if you remember, they previous episode they got shot at the big star
Mm-hmm.
whatchamacallit thing, the ring,
The hype.
hyperdrive. Yeah, there you go, the hyper ring. And so the comlink's still not working properly, or they're still being jammed because remember when they went into the sector, everything was jammed, right? So Hanoi says he will try and cannibalize some wiring from the secondary motivator to see if he can rewire the transmitter. He then goes outside to see Tano looking into the forest around them. She tells Tano that comms and primary power converters are still offline, preventing them from leaving or sending transmissions. Tano informs Sabine that the enemy base is nearby and warns that the enemy has the map and the means to go to where they want. Tano believes that they face a difficult choice. They can't make the journey to find Ezra Bridger. She concludes that no one should, which means she wants to eliminate the competition. Wren doesn't want to give up, but Tano says this is for the better than allowing Thrawn to return to the heir of the Empire and start a new war. Tano advises Wren not to allow her emotions to hinder her progress, and Wren grudgingly nods. When Wren goes inside the T6 to prepare to find the enemy ground base through their radar or whatever they've got. Hanoi exits and asks if everything's all right. Tano warns the architect droid to be careful outside of the ship because she has some bad feelings. In the forest, we see the HK assassin droids closing in and watching everything that's going on. At the Ceto reflex point, which is where the map is plugged in at, Shin and Maruk inform Bayllan, Skoll, and the Night Sister Morgan Elisabeth that their forces have located the enemy ship about 12 clicks away. Elisabeth says her guards won't delay them, and Skoll says she will, and that they should go get underway. Elisabeth senses Skoll is nervous, but he responds that he is experienced in what's about to happen. Basically, he's urging her to get on the ship so she doesn't slow anything down.
Yeah, that was a
doesn't compromise. Yeah, doesn't compromise the mission. And if you haven't noticed over the last couple episodes, he's not looking forward to what he's gonna have to do.
No.
Because he knows he's gonna have to kill some Ahsoka, and he's not looking forward to it. All right, so inside the T6, Wren puts on her armor and loads her pistols. When Wren and Tano talk about her feelings of Bridger, she tells them that they must sometimes put aside their personal feelings and do what is right. When Wren asks if she really believes that, Tano says that she must do that when the stakes are high, meaning she needs a clear head. Meanwhile, Hanoi fixes the lighting, and the H-87 assassin droid attacks Hanoi. Hanoi defends himself with some pretty badass boxing action there. You would think that droids wouldn't be programmed to be able to box or whatever, but they were some pretty badass boxing there. Let's see. He defends himself, but he needs help, and you hear him start to call for help. But the assassin droid kind of puts his hands over his mouth speaker or whatever. Hanoi breaks free and severs a wire to alert the others, causing the T6 interior to go dark again. Tano and Wren notice the change and go outside. Tano and Wren battle the guards while Hanoi struggles with the assassin droid. Tano uses her force powers and lightsaber skills to kill intruders, while Wren does the same with her combat and marksman skills. Hanoi manages to defeat the assassin droid, but tells the women that the attack will set them back because he had to break something that he has to fix now. Yeah. Tano instructs him to prioritize repairs to the transmitter
and to contact General Syndulla urgently. Filoni counsels Wren and Tano to stay together, saying that they did better. They do better that way. They do better as a pair. They kind of go rogue when they're apart, I guess is what he's trying to say. And then we go aboard Home One. First Officer Vic Hawkins catches up with General Syndulla as she's walking with her son Jason and Chopper. Syndulla tells Hawkins that she is willing to wait for orders and tells Hawkins to think of something. She's unwilling to wait for orders and tells Hawkins to think of something to tell her superiors. Hawkins I can't say that word. Hawkins reluctantly agrees to help. Aboard the Ghost, Jason asks his mother why he has to listen while she can disobey orders. It's like saying, why do you get to break the rules and I don't? I have to follow them. And Syndulla responds that a general can sometimes disobey orders and tells him to buckle up. And so she says something about when you become a general, you can do the same or something like that. Blah, blah, blah. Chopper watches. The Ghost is accompanied by 5 T6 or T-65B X-Wing fighters, flown by Captain Carson, Lieutenant Basie, Lieutenant Mowat, and Lieutenant Genesee. Oh, of course, and Lieutenant Lander. Teva tells her about the risks, but Syndulla says that she has always been a rebel. Once a rebel, always a rebel. Teva addresses her as Phoenix leader, and the squadron jumps into hyperspace at Syndulla's command. Jason pulls the hyperdrive lever himself. Wow, he's getting all kinds of experience, huh? All right, so back on planet Sieto, at the reflex point, Elisabeth tells Skoll that once the guidelines have been established, they will be able to calculate the hyperspace coordinates. And we see the machine is slowly ticking away as it's calculating the exact points in space. Skoll warns her if calculations are lost, they will be lost in the intergalactic void, meaning they won't know where they are. Elisabeth tells him to have faith, but Skoll is skeptical. Elisabeth touches the map, which projects the holographic projection of the pathway to Perida, which is where Thrawn is supposed to be. He mutters that this is witchcraft. It's just witchcraft. Just because I'm a Jedi doesn't mean I like witchcraft.
This is not the way.
Right. Aboard the Eye of Sion, a navigator droids begin calculating the coordinates to Perdia. Meanwhile, Wren and Tano encounter Hati and Maruk inside the forest. Wren shoots at Hati with her twin blasters, but the acolyte is able to deflect her blasts with her lightsabers. Tano faces Maruk and draws one of her white lightsabers. Maruk activates his double-bladed spinning lightsaber, and the two engage in a lightsaber duel after they both wait for it to start spinning. Which, if it was me, I would have gone, screw that, I'm going in now. Seeking revenge from the earlier duel, Wren chases Hati through the forest. Wren corners Hati among clusters of trees, but the Dark Sider uses the force powers to hurl Wren against a tree, kind of knocking the wind out of her, and her helmet comes off. Hati attempts to strike down Wren, but the Mandalorian dodges with her lightsaber, which instead strikes a tree trunk. The two fight with their lightsabers, Wren drawing her green lightsaber to defend herself, while Elisabeth and Skoll oversee the calculations of the hyperspace coordinates. The Force users continue their fights in the forest. Maruk spins his lightsaber before charging at Tano. However, Tano dodges him and slices him across the chest with her lightsaber. And it kind of leaves a red mark almost all the way across. I don't know if you saw, but it was like right along the rib cage, basically, and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fallen Maruk kneels down, and a green mist is released through the cut in his armor. The death of Maruk interrupts Wren's duel with Hati, and Wren tells Tano to get the map while she deals with Hati. After Tano leaves, Hati warns that Wren that she will regret that decision before resuming the fight. Elsewhere, Elisabeth completes her calculations and tasks Skoll with protecting the map until she needs him. Tano reaches the Sieto reflex point and sees the Eye of Sion hovering above. Tano enters the hinge where she encounters Skoll, who tells her that Anakin Skywalker spoke highly of her. When Tano says that she doesn't know Skoll, Skoll explains that everyone in the Jedi Order knew Skywalker, but few saw what he became. Or what? More like don't have it on there. Dun, 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 whatever that. We hear it at the end of the. We hear it here at the end of the episode too. Spoiler.
Oops.
Which I forgot to play at the beginning here, but Anakin Skoll explains everyone knew. She asks if Skywalker's fall to the dark side of the Force motivated her to leave the Jedi Order. Tano refuses her past and throws aside her cloak. She basically tells him that she left before he turned. Skoll responds that he is here to secure the future for something greater. Tano asks him to consider the ethics of starting another war. Skoll replies that he is not starting another war, but says that Thrawn will. Skoll talks about the necessary evil of destroying in order to create. As Tano reaches for her lightsaber, Skoll admits that it is inevitable and ignites his own lightsaber. The two circle in position around the holographic display of the galaxy before they start. And obviously, the goal is for Tano to stop the map from uploading, right?
Yeah.
The two Force users return for a second round, and Tano manages to strike Skoll, but he fights back. They briefly cross blades before Skoll maneuvers Tano against a rock. Aboard the bridge of the Eye of Sion, the robot navigator droid informs Elisabeth that Tano has engaged Skoll at the hinge. When she asks how long it will take for the coordinates to be ready, the navigator reassures her that the calculations are almost complete. Back on the ground, Skoll hurls a rock against Tano that she slices in half with her lightsaber. While the navigation computer reaches third quarter, the two former Jedi continue to fight. And I don't know. It seemed kind of strange to me that the lightsaber just kind of sliced through that rock like butter. There was no. She didn't even fall back or anything a little bit when because of the force of the rock, just like butter.
Plasma cutter.
I just don't believe that, but I would think something with that weight, even though you're slicing through it, it would throw you back a little bit. I just don't know.
She's been working out.
She's concentrating. She's in meditation mode.
She took a really big stance and just held that lightsaber out.
Right. Elsewhere, Wren and Hati continue their lightsaber duel. Hati hits Wren and manages to kick her to the ground. Wren reaches out her hand in an attempt to use the Force. I'm going to push you like you pushed me. But Hati points out that Wren has no Force powers. Oh no. She still hasn't been able to use them. She attempts to strike Wren down, but Wren knocks the blade out of her hand with a dart from her. She tricks her with a little Mandalorian weaponry there. Dart. As Skoll corners Tano, he taunts her with her legacy is death and destruction, just like her master.
This enrages Tano and she knocks Skoll to the ground. She says, "You will not tease me, I'll get you. I'm not like Darth Vader, come on. I'm more like Anakin than Darth Vader." Something like that. Tano manages to grab the map orb. It interrupts the projection, but the orb burns her hand. It's freaking hot because it's got that purple flame heated up, right?
She should have just used that to push it away.
Yeah, that or her lightsaber. That's what I would have done.
Well,
Elsewhere,
herself.
I guess that's true. She wants to figure out where they are herself. Elsewhere, Hati manages to temporarily blind Tano with a smoke bomb and flees. The navigator droid informs Elisabeth that the hyperspace calculation is incomplete. Tano interrupts the hyperspace coordinates calculation, which angers Skoll, who resumes his lightsaber attack. Shortly, Hati arrives and Skoll tells her to grab the map. Tano uses the force to hurl Hati against a rock. And she says something about Wren, too. She's like, "Oh no, where's Wren?" kind of thing. And then that's why she forces Hati, I think, is she's mad that she thinks Hati killed her. The enraged Skoll advances on Tano and drives her to the edge of the cliff, which overlooks the sea. Uh-oh. Don't get too close. Skoll says he regrets that their meeting has ended in conflict, but blames Tano for the choice. Wren arrives and tells Skoll to stop. Tano tells her Mandalorian friend to destroy the map, but she instead warns Skoll to stay away from her master, and Skoll instead strikes Tano with his lightsaber, causing her to fall off the cliff. Oh no! Horrifically, at the presumed loss of her friend, Wren attacks Skoll with her blaster, but the former Jedi defeats her blast, and then holds the map against her blaster. Skoll gives Wren the option to follow her master's orders or seize the opportunity to find Ezra Bridger, the only family that she has left. Wren claims he doesn't know what he's talking about, but Skoll tells her that he knows that Bridger is holding her back. Sensing her thoughts, Skoll tells her that she knows her family died on Mandalore because of her master Tano did not trust her. Skoll tells Wren that the two share a common goal and appeals to her desire to be reunited with Bridger. Skoll claims that he is serving a greater good and invites her to come with him to Perdia. He promises that no harm will come of her and that she will be reunited with Bridger. Skoll says that that's the only way, and tells her to do it for Ezra. After considering Skoll's words, she hands him the map. Dun, dun, dun. He used his Jedi ways to get what he wanted from her. Except it wasn't sex.
Well, they had a ball.
That's true. And then they probably cut the sex scene out, right?
Oops.
Hati begins force choking Tano, but Skoll orders her to stop, stating that he gave the Mandalorian his word. He claims that he will keep his word, unlike Tano, his former master. Skoll plays the map back on the mechanism, allowing the navigator droid to complete the hyperspace calculations and establish a route to Perdia. Pleased, Elisabeth orders
open and started recalculating right from where it stopped. There was no reset thing.
No starting over, nothing. It just kept continued on. Yeah, I thought that was weird too. He completes it, and Elisabeth orders the shuttle be sent down to retrieve Lord Bayllan so that they can begin their jump. Meanwhile, Hanoi is contacted by General Syndulla. Hanoi tells her that they are downed on Sidus and requests help. The Ghost and its fighters escort
escort them into the Deneba system. Filoni tells her that Elisabeth's forces have built a massive hyperspace ring and warns them not to let it escape. When Syndulla asks about Tano and Wren, Filoni says that they are on the surface trying to stop the enemy. After Carson confirms the Eye of Sion's location, Syndulla proposes cutting across the axis and blocking its path. Elisabeth informs Skoll that the calculations are complete and to return immediately. Per Elisabeth's instructions, Skoll destroys the map with his lightsaber. Thought it was kind of weird that he put it in there and it just eventually it exploded, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Some sort of weird metal in that map or something. Huh?
He pierced it straight down, and I don't know. But
it just
didn't destroy the whatever it was that was, gave it the power or whatever.
The pedestal thing or whatever, yeah.
That's a good word. Witchcraft.
Yeah, witchcraft stuff. He destroys it with a lightsaber, telling Wren and Hati he will be following them, or they will be following him. Hati marches Wren aboard the shuttle as the Eye of Sion rises into the upper atmosphere. The navigation droid tells Elisabeth they are tracking the trajectory of some fighters and that they have a clear guideline. As the New Republic ships converge on the Eye of Sion, Teva orders the X-Wings to lock their S-foils into attack position. Mawat notices that the enemy ship is not launching starfighters, while Bayllan realizes the enemy is escaping. Skoll and Hati and Wren enter the bridge of the Eye of Sion, where they are greeted by Elisabeth. The navigator droid informs Elisabeth that the New Republic ships are in their path now. Wren realizes that Syndulla has arrived, but Elisabeth orders her droids to ignore them and engage the ship's hyperdrive anyway. They won't be a bother. They can't hurt us.
I'll just blow right past them.
Syndulla and Carson detect the hyperdrive surge, but it's too late. Mawat's X-Wings are knocked into Bayllan's X-Wing by the blasts unleashed from the hyperspace jump, killing them. The Ghosts and the other fighters manage to survive the surge. Syndulla and Jacen watch in horror, with the latter saying that he has got a bad feeling. Uh-oh. I don't know. What happens when Jacen has bad feelings? We don't know. Chopper mumbles something in binary, probably something like, uh-oh.
I hope it wasn't on the 13th.
It could have been a bad word, too. I don't know.
Could have been.
Meanwhile, Hanoi attempts to contact Tano and Wren, but receives no reply. The camera gives an aerial shot of Seto's reflex point and the sea. Elsewhere, Tano awakens in the world between worlds and meets with Anakin, who greets her by saying, "Hello, Schnipsh. Hello." Tano calls out to her master and Skywalker says that he did not expect to see her back so soon. She turns around and finds herself staring at a Force ghost of Skywalker. Credits roll.
The end.
That was the shocking moment right there. Boom.
Oh, wait a minute. Dum 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 dum.
Yeah. At the end, he talks, and then after he talks, the Darth Vader theme plays, which is not necessarily a good thing, is it? Yeah. So
we shall see.
We shall see. But I mean, they play it off as the world between the worlds, which it could be. But it could also be because, they always have these, flashes of heaven and stuff when people die. Maybe that's what she does, is she flashes to the world between worlds as she's dying. It's kind of why.
Or
she's still in all.
She had a cliffhanger. She's saved there on the cliff.
Literally. Literally a cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger.
Yeah. She just banged her head really hard.
Bolt, and she just hanging there, knocked her out. Couple of those other rocks in the head.
Yeah, there's like an eagle's nest or something. She fell right inside of it.
There you go.
Or one of those big giant birds that they fought on the Mandalorian.
Could be, or the whale. Maybe she landed on a whale.
There you go, a whale. I don't know. I don't know if the whales can go in regular atmosphere. They breathe space, so I don't know. I don't know how that works. But yeah, I thought this was interesting that I knew that Anakin was going to be in the show in some fashion, but I didn't think it was going to be this way. I thought it was going to be more like a flashback where she was going to remember something that he told her and some lesson so she could, find a way to move forward past whatever was going on. I didn't think it was. Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler. Spoiler. No, but it is ominous though that they did play the Darth Vader theme though. Like maybe he's not what he appears to be in the on the thing there.
Maybe he knew she was there and he's like sending her a signal to like who knows.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're so good in Anakin that we, didn't know about.
Well, I mean, he did go back to the light side. Luke Skywalker turned him back to the light. So
yeah, because Luke says, he knows there's good in there, Father.
Exactly.
So maybe there was still a little goodness left.
Well, and we know from the movies, the originals, that when they remade them and added the extra stuff to it, they added the Anakin ghost instead of Darth Vader ghost. So, maybe that's how he appears now as he in death is Anakin because he converted back. So I don't know. I think that any second he could flip and we could see him as Darth Vader. Now you shall die. Oh, don't. What was that? The when if you didn't watch all the Rebels and stuff like that, there was just a couple scenes. I think it was in Rebels where Ahsoka goes into this world within worlds, and there's all these windows and stuff in there that she can look into the past or the future, and she looks into the past and sees Darth Vader at some battle, and she jumps into that window because she knows that it's Anakin, and she wants to, kind of asking why the hell he did what he did, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you can't accept it, then you must die. So they go into a battle and stuff there. You probably haven't seen that part because it's a small part.
I've seen like the bits of it, but I haven't watched the actual episode. Haven't got that far yet. But I think this is still early on. He's still got some good in him. I think, that's my guess.
Could be. I mean, supposedly there's only a few people that can walk in this world beyond worlds. And I would assume that because Anakin was one of the most powerful Jedi that we know, that he probably has the ability to do that. But I mean, I think we saw Yoda in one of them too when he was walking in there too, but nobody else was really able to do it. Even Palpatine, because she sees Palpatine in one of the windows, and he can't get in to the world, but she can see him and almost does go in, but doesn't want to cause any troubles because she knows that if he gets that power, then that's even worse, right? So she kind of hides from him and gets away and escapes the world between worlds at one point. There's some interesting episodes about those world between worlds. One, I think there's an entire one because Ezra discovers it first, and Ahsoka is heavily, um, I don't know, symbolically heavily in there with Ezra, because there's a symbol with Ahsoka that she's some sort of bird or whatever, and
Yeah.
she's in there all over the place, in the War Between Worlds when he's there. Anyway, what in general did you think about this episode? Was it action packed, slow?
Well, I think there was action. I mean, we saw Skoll and her get into lightsaber fight. We saw Sabine and the other gal. So
Hati?
I think it
Hey,
was kind of a
it's
precursor for what's coming down the road. A transition episode, I guess I would call it, because it was short, but there was some action in it. But I think it was a little foreshadowing. I question during the battle scene, they focused on that helmet when it fell off Sabine's head and landed on the ground. Like
yeah,
there specifically was a zoom into the helmet, pause, focus, zoom out, move to the next thing. And so I questioned that one a little bit. Like there's some symbolism to that for something.
yeah. I think there was probably something more there that they took out, um, and they want us to think about it more instead of revealing it right away. Because I think what we're going to find out is Sabine does have the ability to do Force stuff, but her Mandalorian side is holding her back.
Yeah.
And the removal of the helmet falling off kind of symbolizes that the helmet falls off, and she realizes she doesn't need it. I think that's what's coming soon. Because
Well,
I
and she
as much
did
as
the,
as much as they're focusing on it, I think that eventually she's going to figure it out. She
yeah,
just, she's too much in her mind like a Mandalorian, thinking about weapons and fighting and stuff, and not like a Jedi who, they clear their mind and meditate to be one with the Force, and that's how they can handle their lightsaber so well and stuff. Is they're in tune with the lightsaber, they're in tune with the surroundings around them, that kind of thing. And she's not. She's only reacting is
yeah,
what she's doing.
yeah.
I think that's what's hold her back. Because we kind of see that with Luke Skywalker when he first is introduced to stuff. When Obi-Wan tells him to put on that helmet thing, and he can't figure it
Yeah.
out, and then eventually he does, right?
Yeah.
Um, eventually he does,
It was
and
the
then he does the same thing with Yoda too.
yeah. The other thing was the Inquisitor guy, like getting cut open and then
Yeah, the smoke. So yeah,
the
in the the Clone Wars animated, there's several. I'd say at least 5 or 6 episodes that include the Night Sisters. Because we find out that's how Darth Maul was created, was through some spell that the Night Sisters, because the Night Sisters are only women, but every once in a while they need a man, of course, right?
yeah, well,
Population. So they create this guy that's got all these big muscles and whatever, all through spells. And of course he's got horns, but that's natural for that species, I guess. And he wasn't red to start with. I think he was more of a grayish color, and as the spells and stuff, he turns different colors and whatever. Anyway, and he has a brother also that they do the same spells on, but they put more spells on this guy. And eventually, um, Maul and this guy fight a little bit too. But that's around the time when Maul takes over Mandalore or whatever. I don't know if you have gotten into that very far at all yet, but
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of kind of like the highlight episodes of it, but yeah.
yeah, Maul takes over Mandalore, and if you're, I don't know if you've seen the,
Well, he gets a dark saber at that point, right?
yeah, that was his goal, was to he wanted to use Mandalore, um for crime purposes. Because remember in Solo, if you remember the movie at the very end, is the crime lord. That's
Hmm.
around the same. That's around the same time that
Yeah.
he's in charge of Mandalore too. And he uses the dark saber to, you know,
Wield it.
influence everybody and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a symbol of his power too. Um, and eventually, uh, what's her name that is on the Mandalorian? She takes the saber from him.
Oh, Boca. Uh,
Yeah, but she doesn't fight him. That's why they say in the beginning of the Mandalorian that she didn't actually earn the
get it.
saber. She Someone else fought him and he dropped it and she picked it up. So she didn't win it through a battle. She just stole it basically. Um. So
Yeah. So she wasn't
anyway,
the true owner or whatever.
that's why they wouldn't follow her. Why all the other people wouldn't follow her and they split off. It's because she wasn't the true owner of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else you got to say about it?
No,
I'll
I
get
think it
into
was
the
a good.
feedback after that.
Next episodes are probably going to be a little bit longer because I think there's going to be a little bit more events. I don't know. You think Thrawn comes back this week or next week?
I still don't know.
This week. If it is this week, it's going to be like at the very end, they're going to leave you hanging. But I think it's going to be like episode 6 before he shows up. I think
Yeah,
this week
six,
they
maybe 7.
yeah, I think they get there, they look for him, maybe find him at the very end of the episode. But then episode 6 is when he truly is introduced.
I'm trying to remember. See, a lot of this stuff with Thrawn is not canon, especially at this point in time. Filoni is basically pulling all this stuff into canon, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if Thrawn actually does come back or not. I
Okay.
think he does for a short period of time. And we probably won't see it in the show. We'll probably see, very short period of time before they destroy him or something like that. But Thrawn is not around when the New Order starts with Kylo Ren and all that stuff. He's not around then. He's gone, dead. I don't know what. Maybe he isolated himself to another galaxy. I don't know what happened because I didn't finish all the books yet.
Well, I think we know he's coming because we've seen the previews, so we know
Yeah,
he's there
yeah.
as a character. It's already been announced that he's going to be there. How long he's there, I don't know. I don't know that we'll necessarily see him for a really long time either. I think, yeah, like he may be there and gone by the end of the season. So
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, there's rumors that Ahsoka is going to have at least 2 seasons. So maybe season 2 is fighting Thrawn. Who knows? I mean, what else could there be after they find him
it would be a great
except for
ending.
fighting him?
It would be a great last episode that there's a huge battle and he gets killed and he's gone and over with.
Yeah, it would be.
You can that episode just being nonstop battles, battle scenes, fighting or whatever. So what do we got? 8 episodes? Is that what they're projecting?
Yeah, 8 episodes is what they have, and um,
Uh,
so far they're not going to play the last 2 in the same day, like
okay.
they did with previous things.
Yeah.
So far they're going to be separated. So my guess is like you said, it's going to be probably a 40-50 minute episode for 7 and 8 each.
Yeah.
To get it all in. Maybe I don't know. 7 could be short and 8 could be the long one. I don't know, but
Well, I think next week we follow them to wherever he's at galaxy wise. Then
yeah,
you got in the Ezra Bridger part, so that's going to get tied in somehow. And
yeah,
Sabine's now with Skoll. So we know that there's going to be some kind of connection with Ezra Bridger there too, but we also have the Thrawn part. So I think maybe we got 2 episodes with Bridger and 2 episodes with Thrawn, and then we have a huge ending with a big blowout fight, and
Could
Who
be.
knows?
I think Bridger and Thrawn are in the same place, so I think if we see Bridger, we're probably going to see Thrawn at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
See, there's two scenarios that I can see from what we've seen so far of the show. Um, Tano could actually be in the world between worlds, and she has her moment with Anakin, and then, like I said, she can see little mirrors into the past and the future. So maybe she finds a mirror where Ezra is at and jumps into that, and she ends up being in the same place that Wren and all of them are because they already jumped. Right? She
Yep.
could do that. The other scenario is the whales. So those whales apparently can do hyperspace through, and they mentioned them in the Hanoi guy mentioned that they have traveled across across galaxies through space. So she could finally wake up. Wow, I got hit hard, and then realize, I've got to go get Ezra now because everybody's gone, and the whales are my only way to do that.
True, true.
And we could see her riding him back on the whale. No, not really.
Well,
I think
the other
last time they used the whales to do something like that, they were just close to him and they,
yeah,
absorbed their energy or something like that. But
the other thing that you kind of have to think is, okay, we know Thrawn and Ezra are in the same area. Are they together on the same ship? Are they on the same world? Have they like allied in order to survive themselves? I mean, like, who knows?
yeah. So, if you believe what happened in the end of Rebels, which what happened was, Ezra went with Thrawn willingly to save the rest of the crew because he was going to kill everyone.
Yeah,
Or Ezra come with him. So if Ezra came, everybody survived. If not, he was going to kill them all. So he sacrificed himself to go, and they used the pergolas to escape. Thrawn and Ezra used the pergolas to escape because Ezra knew how to be in tune with them to do that. And that's the last we see of Ezra, and there's like a episode or two after that. Where they're trying to chase down and find where he went and stuff like that. And that's where supposedly Kanan gets killed and stuff like that. His Ezra's master gets killed. But yeah, anyway, so if we're to believe what happened there and they stayed together, like you said, I think they're going to be on the same ship. Or Thrawn's got him in prison somewhere, rotting away, or Thrawn doesn't have force power, so maybe he's using Ezra as a force thing.
could be.
So in the I don't know, the history of Thrawn's people, they apparently were able to do intergalactic flight way before most of the people that we know in our story. But they lived in the outer rim of the galaxy, so they had no contact with the other people.
Yeah.
And they were able to do this intergalactic travel because they had people that were what they called they called it force sensitive, but they used them to calculate and predict paths in space, because they could use the force to see those kind of things, right? So these people, and they would catch them as they're young. So they were young kids. We're talking 8, 9, 10 years old, and they would basically be the navigation person on the ship. So they would calculate a trajectory and then give it to this person. This person would think on it for a while and say, okay, well, no, there's a planet here. You need to avoid this kind of thing through the force. And that's how they traveled through hyperspace without hitting anything,
Well, maybe that's what Thrawn's using Ezra for.
That's what I'm wondering too. Because that's what his experience is. Thrawn grew up in the military with his people,
and came really close with one of those Force people in the books. Like I said, I haven't finished all of them. There's like 4 or 5 books, and I have a hard time concentrating on books as I get older. But we could keep talking forever. Let's go to some of this feedback.
Feedback at KyleJohansson.us. That's feedback, KyleJohansen.us.
All right, so as I was telling you before, I didn't really mention it here on the live portion here, but I talked to a guy named Steve, and he has his own podcast called Rebel Rock Radio. They talk about Star Wars in general. They do a little bit, of a small review on episodes that come out, like the Ahsoka stuff. But they mainly, like he said, that next week they're going to focus on Solo the movie and talk about that, in addition to everything else that they're going to talk about.
Hi,
And
Steve.
yeah, he is actually he lost his co-host recently, and he's looking for a co-host, or he's actually wanting to come on another podcast. And I kind of have been talking to him to see if he wants to or not. And right now schedules don't work out. He works on Saturdays, so that's not a good thing. And
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's difficult to find time to do this anyway. But he gave me some feedback on this episode. He gave start off with the feedback is kind of more general feedback of the show, but he says, I thought it was a pretty great episode. I was really happy to finally see the Ghost in live action, which is the ship that Hera drives. I felt like Maruk was a big tease to the viewers, but maybe it didn't really it didn't pay off. I was glad that they started to show the relationship between Hera and her son. He's up in the air about the Ahsoka and Anakin reunion that we saw at the very end. He doesn't know what he thinks about that or what's going to happen.
What it means.
He kind of got emotional though, because if you've watched the Clone Wars animation stuff, Ahsoka and Anakin were really close. So it's kind of emotional for some people to see that reunion. But he then became very skeptical once they played the Imperial Darth Vader march at the end there.
Dun, 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 dun.
He
Yeah.
also believes that there's going to be a lot more crazy stuff that happens in the next couple episodes. They're willing to put out. They're willing to put that out in theaters. So he mentions theaters. So there was some places in the United States that actually broadcast episode 4 in a theater. You could go see it.
Really?
It was a special engagement kind of thing. It wasn't. I don't think they did it in Kansas City, but
Yeah.
maybe in 6 different locations you were able to go in and watch it. It was kind of a celebration of half season thing, And
That'd
he
be cool.
mentions that he wishes they'd be willing to do that in theaters more often. And that's all he really had. Most of it is we were talking about him coming on the podcast sometime, and I told him he could record something if he wanted to, and we could do it that way. But anyway, thanks to Steve for the feedback kind of stuff, and giving his opinions, and maybe we might see him on the show sometime. Depends
Come
on what
on.
we find. Come on, Steve. And I told him, a lot of times there could be 3 of us, but usually it's only 2, and we welcome as many who want to. And his podcast, they do a live stream, and he plays the guitar. So he has live music that he does during the show. And if you watch his show, which I might put a link on our website to his show, he has a lot better graphics abilities than I do. He has graphics that are in motion and all kinds of stuff on his video stuff. I personally don't have time to do all that stuff. So
I'm like an artsy kind of fella, and I ain't that.
Well, I mean, he probably took the time to learn some of the, the Photoshop stuff, and I've never really taken the time to learn any of that stuff. Mostly because it takes a lot of time to get into
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
I'm just not into that. And I like the podcasting thing more as a radio thing. That was my original idea because back in the kid, I used to pretend like I was a DJ on a radio station. So anyway, yeah. Uh, Feedback at kylejohansson.us is our email address. You can send your feedback there. The good part about the email address is you have the ability to attach a video. I think Gmail limits the size to 25 megabytes, which is a pretty good size for a video. Obviously, you can't do any 4K or anything like that special because that takes up a lot of space. But send us something there. We'll gladly play the video on our podcast. Um, we'll listen to it and probably we'll try not to make fun of you, but we might. Um, we can get we can also get feedback on the website. If you go to our website on the left hand side, like we always say over there, there's a link for feedback, and it's a form you fill out, and it actually goes to an email address as well, but you can't attach any video to that one. We're on Twitter at super_duper_pod. Sorry about the weird name, but it's been there for a long time, and Twitter doesn't like you to change your name very often. We're also on Blue Sky, which at Blue Sky I got Rebel Alliance Briefing Room all as one word for our name, which is cool. Which is what we have in the description on Twitter. But the actual address is super duper pod. And of course, we post these up on YouTube, so you can put comments there as well, which we don't have very many. Again, I was telling everybody that we have all kinds of people watching, and I find it very strange that, with the reputation that YouTube has, that we don't have any comments.
Come on, YouTubers, type. You can
exactly.
use on YouTube. You
Exactly. Can do. Yeah, and I think the only difference the way it's set up on our thing is they have to be logged in to make a comment, so that probably they show their real account, which as well as I do with Google and stuff, you don't have to put in your real name to show. So I don't understand why that's a problem, but it does make you log in to comment, which prevents spam a lot, and it also makes people accountable. I think so.
But you can do it. Only you.
Only you. We want all of your feedback. We even want you to tell us how bad we're doing. We don't care if we need to improve it to get more people to listen to us and give us more feedback. That's the way what we'll do. I'm not going to tell you that we're going to bow to everybody's whim, but because we're still going to do most of it our way. We're just going to, if we need to accommodate a few things, maybe we say we make fun of ourselves too much and you don't like it. We can change that, I guess. I don't know. But
sorry, I can't look any worse. So I'm as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah, this is it. I can shave every once in a while. Rick doesn't like to shave, but I shave every once in a while. So
it's overrated. Let it grow.
Well, yeah, he doesn't need dome armor, so dome armor was last week.
Let it grow.
He doesn't need it. So that's crazy, man. My hair used to be that long too, though. I can't stand it to grow anymore. It gets so long, it just gets out of control. I can't stand it anymore. Well, so I just shave it off.
I understand why women use ponytails now.
Yeah.
Well, no.
I told you we're at the fair thing or wherever, the craft show here in Olathe. And of course, you've seen the hats now that have where you put the ponytail at the top. They had a vendor there that had like hundreds of different styles, stocking caps, everything that instead of the ball on the end, it had a hole so you could put your ponytail up there.
That's right.
So maybe you should get one of those.
I'm looking at one of those. That might be a new investment.
Get yourself a Bearcat hat that's got a hole in the top so you can put your ponytail up there.
A collectible investment. It just might be an investment.
Yeah, you may never wear it. That would be one of those things that, don't tell her, but your wife might buy it and then you put it in a corner somewhere and never look at it again.
Yeah. It's not that long, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I know. All right, so that's wrapped up the feedback. We want as much as possible, like I said, so send it in. Any last comments? Looking forward to the next episode.
Definitely looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be an interesting episode. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I think it's either going to be a boring episode and not a lot going on, or it's going to be pretty action packed. And so I think those are my two picks. I'm leaning towards boring, but
yeah, I think it might be. I think they might take up a lot of it with this Anakin thing that we saw at the end there.
I think it's more of the Sabine and Skoll conversation kind of thing. I think they're going to kind of
a little bit too, yeah.
Try to get a relationship of some kind there. But yeah, I think there'll probably be some Anakin there too.
And maybe he'll find some way to get her to find her Force abilities.
Could be.
And then we have to bring her back from the dark side.
Yeah, well, I
which
think
technically Skoll's not, but
he's got some good in him too. That
Yeah, I think that's why those guys don't have the dark red sabers, is because they're not fully dark.
Yeah.
They don't really mention it. I think actually that Professor Hanoi, the robot, says something about Jedi that are in between dark and light, but he doesn't call them gray or anything like that. And I think that's what we're supposed to assume these guys are. And that's what a lot of people assumed before the show started. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, in general, what do you think? Is this Ahsoka a measure up to some of the other shows? Mando's better?
Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of sold on Mando. I'm just kind of. I mean, if I had to pick out of
it's
them,
really good.
I would rank Mando number one. Boba
it's really
Fett,
good.
I kind of had high hopes for Boba, but now it's kind of like I don't know.
It petered out.
Kind of boom.
They a lot of people think they ruined Boba Fett because they brought Mando into it.
Yeah. I don't know. I like Bad Batch too, though. So I don't know that I can say right now that Ahsoka's above Bad Batch, but it has a potential. I mean, if I was going to go Mando, Bad Batch, right now Ahsoka, because I think Ahsoka's better than Boba. But Ahsoka could go one way or the other. So
did you watch any of Andor?
Yeah, and I don't know. Andor was just a little slow for me, but I think it's in season 2, right, of Andor.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lot faster, I think, too.
Yeah, I think it'll be better than what the first season was because I think it's just going to be a lot more action. I think Andor season 1 set up a lot of stuff. Season 2 is just going to be kind of boom, 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 going through things. So,
well, you have to remember when they originally talked about it, Andor was going to have 4 seasons.
Yeah,
and they dropped it to 2, and they say they're still going to cover the same timelines in the 2 seasons. So season 2's got to go fairly fast.
we got what coming out 2 still, or did that one get axed for sure?
So which one?
Wasn't it the Acolyte? Wasn't that coming out?
Yeah, that's slated for 24. But like there's another one, Skeleton Crew, and a couple other ones they're all being affected by the actors strike.
Yeah.
Because they haven't actually started production yet, so that depends on when they get off the strike. So there's that, yes, and there's supposed to be we're supposed to have part 3 of Visions, Star Wars Visions, and Tales of the Jedi 2. I think part 3 of Visions is in 24, but Tales of the Jedi is supposed to be this year at the end of the year. And that's the animated one that had the little shorts or whatever, the little short.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
No, I think
And then they,
it's
they
there at the top, but for me anyway.
I, I, I don't, I don't think for me it's as good as it could be. Honestly, because uh, Rebels was so good to begin with. And part of what I liked the most about Rebels is we got a lot of the mythology. You know, you found out about the old ways of the Jedi, and they went to these temples and learned this thing or that thing.
Yeah.
And supposedly Ahsoka has studied all that junk herself, because she was partially with him during some of the times and partially not. Um, she guided Ezra a little bit in his path as a Jedi, but Kanan was the main master for Ezra. It was always Ahsoka and Sabine in the end,
Yeah.
because Sabine's like, I want to do that stuff. I'm a warrior, let me teach me how to do it, and um, that's how that kind of happened. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just don't. I think they have a lot to make up with in the next couple episodes. I think is what I'm trying to say. Um,
Yeah.
it's definitely not as good as Mando, like you were saying. I don't think it is.
Rebels was what, 6 seasons, 7 seasons?
As 5 seasons, I believe.
So I
Maybe
mean,
6.
you got
Yeah,
a
and
lot.
that's a lot. That's a lot. I know, and um, most of the seasons were 22 episodes. I think the 5th season was only like 12 or something, because it came. Rebels basically stopped and was non-existent for 2 years, and then they came back for the 5th season and ended it. Same thing with the Clone Wars, and they came back during the pandemic, which is weird. Why would they stop before the pandemic and then come back? But anyway, you would think the pandemic was the cause, and it really wasn't the cause. So, um,
That's a different podcast.
yeah, the Pandemic Podcast by Kyle and Rick. Uh, Speaking of that, how at those fairs and stuff, especially the local one,
Yeah.
they have the different parties and stuff there. The
Yeah.
Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Well, there's this vendor that's a local vendor, and they do clothing and stuff and hats and whatever. And I know that you're leaning towards some of that other stuff that I don't lean towards, but they had these hats there that were Trump hats, which fine, everybody whatever they want, right? But there were some of them were crazy. There was like one hat that said, "I'm an ultra magma," not just the regular magma, which is already enough. He's an ultra magma.
Ultra, huh?
Or and then there was another hat which I really didn't like. It was something about supported the insurrection of the White House. Where they went in on January 6th or whatever. And I'm like, come on, how can you get away with selling stuff like that? Anyway.
As P.T. Barnum would say, there's a sucker born every minute. So, so much.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, he had some pretty cool other stuff, just regular t-shirts, and he had some chief stuff, and Amy's looking at it all, and I'm like, hey, look at these hats first before you buy something. She's like, oh, maybe I don't want to buy anything from this guy.
But then she's like, no, they're good. I'm riding them.
Yeah, she almost did, truthfully.
Yeah.
I barely got out of that place. I'm telling you, man.
You didn't buy a Bud Light hat, did you?
No, I didn't. But strangely enough, they did have Bud Light hats there.
They did.
at that booth. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a different podcast. We better stop.
Yeah. All right. I'll run the outro then.
Thank you for listening to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR
Down there.
.us. That's RABR
Oh, down there.
KAILEJOHANSEN.US. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at
Over there.
RABR.KAILEJOHANSEN.US.
Oh,
This podcast in no way is approved, sponsored, or owned by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. All opinions are solely owned by Kyle and or Scott, and in no
And
way
Rick.
express the
And
views
Rick.
or opinions of their past or present.
no, Rick doesn't have any
employers.
opinions. Never mind.
Views and opinions are not supported or restricted
Nope.
by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or any or other use of this podcast and its affiliate sites without consent of Super Duper Podcast Network and its host is prohibited.
Shame.
I am Kyle John Hansen, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton.
No,
Say
no.
goodbye now.
No, Andrew, just Rick. And Rick is a pleasant surprise. We enjoy him on the show all the time.
Surprise
So,
guest.
yeah, surprise guest. All right. Well, we hope Scott's feeling better. He'll be back next time, let's hope. And we'll see you guys with episode 5. Bye-bye. Let me push this.